So good morning or good evening to everyone based off of your current time zone. Welcome to the August Office Add-ins community call. We have 3 topics on the agenda today. We'll be going over upcoming changes to app entry points and dev sideloading, event-based activation for mobile, and also better visibility and control for Outlook spam reporting add-ins. So in terms of our presenters today, my name is Preethika Kiruveedula. I'm a product manager here at Microsoft on the Office platform team. And in terms of our presenters, we'll be having Kate Everitt, who is a principal product manager at Microsoft, Shivakumar, Kancharla, who is a senior product manager at Microsoft, and Ben Siler, who's also a senior product manager at Microsoft. All right. Kate, did you want to take over?
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Everitt. I'm a product manager on Outlook, and I wanted to talk to you today about some changes that we're making to the app entry point and specifically the dev sideloading. And I wanted to kind of just give you some background into why and some visibility so that you're aware of what's happening and what's going on here. So again, this applies to Outlook for Web and Outlook for Windows specifically. All right. Is everyone seeing my second slide? I see a nod. All right. Well,
yes.
All right. I want to explain just a little bit about what we're trying to do here. I think Microsoft in the past has been accused fairly of like shipping our org structure and having separate products that are aligned with us, but that aren't aligned with what our developers and our end users need. And so what we're trying to do is this big vision and dream around bringing multiple products, Outlook, Teams, the Microsoft 365 website, which is like the new office.com, and having apps work across all of them. Because before we kind of had for developers, you'd have multiple SDKs and app packages and fragmented user reach. You could build for Outlook, but then you'd have to build again separately for Teams. For admins, they'd have to go to like multiple different places to acquire apps and to manage them. And then for end users, even if you learn how to acquire an app and use it on Outlook, you'd have to go learn a completely different system for getting it in Teams. So we're trying to bring this all together, and that's the big goal that we're looking at. So from a developer's perspective, what we're trying to do is do this like build once, deploy anywhere, and build and distribute integrations as a single unit. And then admins can manage it, and then end users are going to see the same experience as they try to acquire apps across different clients. So that's the idea, and kind of where the first piece that we've built so far is you can bring a Teams app, like a Teams message extension, a search message extension that allows you to like drop a card into Outlook from Teams. So I know that isn't this audience, but we have this kind of started to make progress along this goal. I'm also just going to talk to you about some changes that we made from the UI perspective to try to make things more familiar and consistent across our products. So before, the way that you would launch add-ins is through the ribbon. And so you'd have an add-in added to the ribbon. And it works well for like a few things. But once you start to get into a bunch of add-ins, you kind of get them showing up in the overflow, and it doesn't work as cleanly. And then some of our other products don't have ribbons. So what we have built is this new unified launch or flyout. And so you'll see this flyout on Teams. You see it in some cases in the Office 365, the Microsoft 365 website. And we want to celebrate apps. We want there to be a place for people to come and find them and search for them and get new ones. And this is kind of just our first step here. But this flyout is going to be the place that you can always go to find an app if you're looking for it. Now, we don't want to change people's current processes. We definitely don't want your customers to reach out to you and be like, where's this add-in? It's moved. So if you have a currently pinned add-in in the ribbon, that's going to be retained and it's going to stay. And then users will have the option to pin and unpin from the flyout to the ribbon. So they're going to have control. And there's going to be some admin control as well. So if an admin wants to deploy an app to their entire environment, they can do that too, and that can go straight to the ribbon. The thing that I don't want you guys to miss is this new apps icon, the blue kind of square, we're calling it the Belgian waffle internally. That's the place that you can go to launch this flyout. And you can see this flyout at the bottom of the app bar on the left. You can see it in Compose, and you can see it in Read in Outlook. Now, I'm wondering, Preethika, is there normally questions for this, or should I wait till the end? How does this work?
So typically we have folks ask their questions in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, they're more than welcome to put them in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and answer them as they come up. And if there's anything that stands out to you, you'd always answer it while you're presenting as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got this flyout right now as something, but there's an opportunity here for us to do more with it as well. There's a question in the chat. Will admins have any control to force pin an application to the ribbon or for us a higher priority in the ribbon? Yes, admins can push an application into the ribbon because we don't want this scenario where the admin deploys the app and then nobody can find it. And so we do want that. But there isn't any, it's not nuanced. We don't have a lot of detailed control. It's more like if they do it, then it will land in the ribbon. We're in the middle of this too. I just want to share with you, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to have some early visibility into where we're going. And so, we've got things that are built in for Windows that aren't fully implemented for OA. But I want to let you know where we're going with this. So yes, we care about admins being able to send these things to ribbon. All right. Now, the other thing I want you guys to note is the entry point for adding for the store. So before we had that orange little thing I'll show you in a second that was right on the ribbon, our entry point for the store is now at the bottom of this flyout, the Add Apps button here. And so as I switch to the next screen, I can show you our new store. So our other store, it had everything in it, but it was looking a little, tired. And so here's our new store that we experienced that's more modern. And it should be familiar to customers because it's the same store that you see in Teams, but you can do search and you can do filtering, you can do all the things that you would expect in a store. And then this is where customers can go to learn more about the apps that are available and to acquire them. And, at least from our side, this has all the add-ins, but it also has some of those Teams apps that have been brought over from Teams and are now available inside of Outlook. Sorry, just going back, I see another question about can an admin apply an app to the ribbon in a different location than specified in the manifest? No, we're doing just the amount, the part where an admin things push things to the ribbon, but there's no nuance, there's no complexity. We have it on our, wish list, but at the moment it's just the very, very minimum there, but we're making sure that we have that minimum. All right, so back to the new store. You guys can see it now if you're in target release for OA. If you're in beta for Win32, you should be seeing this new store, and the things that I'm showing you today, you should be able to go look at them right away. But they are not out in production, or at least very, very minimally. We're just starting to roll out to production for all of these things. All right, so this entry point, I promised you, the little orange square with the plus, removing the entry point of the previous store. This entry point, it's already gone from Windows, and we're removing it from web, this week-ish. Then the new store is available, the old store entry point for end users will not be available anymore because we want people to use the new store. That's what's connected to our new ecosystem. So this is the change that we're making. And when I say specifically removing the entry point, we're not fully removing the new store at this time. So you can still access it if you want to. There's a question about how the new store relates to AppSource. So AppSource is still going to stay the same. It's a website on the side. It does its thing. This is specifically a change for the in-product store. So from this older store to this newer store for the in-product store, but AppSource is going to stay the same. All right, so we're removing this entry point. However, the one thing that we have not put in the new store, and we intend to, but we haven't done this yet, is the UI sideloading elements. So you guys are probably familiar with this custom add-in section in the old store, and you can go in and you can, send something from the UL, from the file. I still want you to be able to access this. So the entry point that the customers and end users, we don't want them accessing it, but I still want you to be able to get at this, because this is where this functionality still lives. So you can go directly to this store. There's an aka.ms link that I created yesterday, OLK for Outlook sideload. Sideload was taken, so I had to put the Outlook sideload on there. And then that goes to this URL, mail and client store. Both of those are part of OA, right? So this is just direct to the store as part of OA. If you are in Windows and you go to the Backstage, there's a manage add-ins thing that will take you pretty much to the same place. And if you forget all of that, you can just go search for Sideload Outlook add-ins, and we're uploading the help, or we're updating the help article, and it'll have that link as well. So yeah, you can still go here. And then one thing that I just want to warn you about is that we're kind of moving around the logic here. And right now, and this is just for right now, it can take up to 4 hours for that to get reflected, which I don't feel great about, and is not where we want to be, and that's not where we intend to stay. But before, this URL thing worked directly with like the core place where we were storing this information. Now it will take a little bit more time, and I understand how painful that is, because you're trying to develop and you're trying to see whether or not your change is there. So there is this up to 4 hour delay for that sideloading to get reflected, and that is including within OA, which is a little bit surprising. So you go here and do it. Even within OA, it could take 4 hours, and that's just because of where we are in this process right now. So that's mostly what I wanted to cover today, and so I'm just going to take a peek at some questions. Yes. And of course, I totally understand the 4 hours. This is not this is temporary, and not really where we want it to be at this point. It's not. We will see how much this actually impacts you. This is a potential thing. If you're seeing the new UI, then you're in this state. If you're seeing the old UI, then you're not in this state yet. Okay, so I'm seeing some concerns here. First of all, I want to just thank you guys for the opportunity to talk to you today. And I do want to hear about your scenarios to understand them well. I'm seeing some scenarios for doing demos. I'm seeing some for switching environments, this being part of your process. We're going to take that into consideration and see what we can do about it, essentially. Yes, admins are able to sideload add-ins for their user base.
Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening. Thank you for joining us today. This is Shivakumar, Product Manager for Outlook Mobile Add-ins. So we are here to talk about an exciting development in Outlook Mobile, that is event-based activation for add-ins. So this is a new feature that allows add-ins to run automatically in the background when certain events are triggered, such as composing a message. This means that users don't have to launch add-ins manually every time they want to use it. The add-in gets launched and will do the work based on the events that that are being triggered. So this feature improves the user experience and productivity by saving time and reducing clicks. It also enables new scenarios for add-in developers such as signatures, etc. So event-based activation is now available in Android and will be coming soon to iOS as well. So you can go through the documentation that I will share soon in the chat. And to show you how it actually works in Outlook Mobile, let's say a quick demo of signatures with event-based activation.
Hello everyone. So auto run signature scenario on mobile. So for the wider audience, auto run add-ins are UI-less add-ins that get launched on basis of events, such as composition of a new message or change of recipients or sending of a mail, for instance. Might trigger these auto run add-ins based on what add-in wants to get launched on what event. So for mobile, on new message compose is the first event that we are supporting for these event-based add-ins. So let's go ahead with the demo. All right. As the name suggests, these Add-ins get triggered when user tries to compose a new mail. That includes replies and forwards as well. So let's try to compose a new mail. And as you can see, as soon as user tries to compose a mail, the add-in executes in the background and makes the required API calls. That might include adding, removing, replacing notifications, getting message properties such as to, CC, BCC, subject, body, etc. And the most important ones are add attachment and set signature, plus disable client signature. So as it's visible, set signature API call had been called and the signature has been added with some text along with the inline image attachment that the add-in wanted. So the image we receive in base64 format and we have appended it to the editor. And as I mentioned, this also applies to replies and forwards as well. Let's go through that. So mobile has this specific quick reply scenario where we do not append the signature to the quick reply window itself. The reply text that you see at the bottom of the screen is what I am referring to as quick reply. So as soon as you tap here, the add-in execution begins and it launches in the background. So the specific scenario in mobile is that we do not append the signature to the quick reply window itself, pertaining to the limited space and small screen size, as you can see. So the signature becomes visible once the mail has been sent. For example, as you can see, if I send out the mail, the signature will get appended to the body, or in case the user expands to the full compose session from quick reply, even then the signature is made part of the editor. Also, the add-in had been calling a disable client signature API in the background that clears out the native signature for current account. By that I mean, if you go to settings and open the signature, so this admin account is the one that the add-in has been deployed on, and the signature, as you can see, is empty. This is because the add-in had called disable client signature API in the background. Clearing out of this signature by calling of the API has its own advantage of making user experience better by not making the replacement of native signature by the add-in signature apparent. For example, if I have some test signature here, and then if I launch the add-in, so this is another scenario that is very mobile specific. You long press it and then go to new mail. Here the add-in initialization has not happened. So as soon as the boot happens, we open the compose window. So the latency is somewhat expected here. Once the add-in initialization completes, the add-in launches. And as you can see, the add-in launched and replaced the native signature. But the replacement was apparent here because native signature was there. But now that the add-in has launched, disable client signature might have been called. And now the native signature should be empty the next time we go through such scenario. Yeah, the native signature, as you can see, this time around was empty. Let's try to make it more apparent. Yeah, so the native signature is not getting appended because it is empty for now. And as you can see, you can keep editing the mail till the signature gets appended, but once the add-in initialization finishes, the signature will get appended. There are a lot of intricacies to these flows that I've knowingly skipped considering time constraints, but we'll be more than happy to discuss it offline though. Thanks.
And this is the event based activation for mobile. Just please do share your feedback or the questions in answer them in the offline. And I'll also share the public documentation for event based activation for mobile in the chat section. Please go through it. Thank you so much. Preethika, I think we can move to the next session.
Okay, great. Thanks for that presentation, Shivakumar. That was awesome. All right, and I think Ben has now taken control.
Yes.
So he will be going over better visibility and control for Outlook spam reporting add-ins.
Yeah, thanks, Preethika. Yes, my name is Ben Siler. I'm a new product manager here on the Outlook extensibility team. So today we're going to be talking about spam and spam reporting. So I think this is probably intuitive. You all probably get some spam and some phishing emails from time to time, but we and much of the industry have noticed that spam and phishing are becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Phishing is a huge source of data breaches. We all know that social engineering is one of the top vectors for bad things to happen to our customers, and phishing is often how that happens. So we've got some quotes from folks like Verizon and Valley Mail noticing that the majority of cyber attacks begin with phishing email. And then more than 3 billion phishing emails are sent daily. So, there are a lot of emails going out to a lot of folks. So in response to this, Microsoft in our first party and Outlook native, we're adding some phishing and spam reporting to all clients. This has existed in the past, but the improvements here are it is now really easy to find. It's in a really premium spot in the ribbon where it's like right next to all of your most important controls. It gathers information on what kind of unwanted email this is, and it supports the IT admin as they try to train the users to respond to these phishing and spam emails. And it also gives them a good idea of what kind of threats they're seeing in their systems. However, this is not really a conversation about first-party native features. It's about what we can do for you. So let's talk about what we can do with spam reporting extensibility. So the first thing, the kind of main concept here is that the IT admins are very consistent that they need to train their users, and to do that, they need a UX element that is front and center. So one of the big value adds here is that your add-in is front and center for the for users to report spam and phishing, similar to the native add-in. We've also really improved the reporting performance. We had seen quite a few of these add-ins being developed in the past, and so we've done some tweaks here to make this faster and a better user experience during the processing stage for users. And importantly, your feature, if you choose to develop one, will supersede the native Outlook reporting. And this is important for the admins and the users because it's very difficult to train the users if there are kind of like two buttons that both say that they're for reporting. So making sure that there's just like a really crisp, clean story with your stuff front and center was the main goal of the feature. So now I'll talk through a little bit of what options you have and what this looks like. So first off, you'll begin with customizing your add-in. You can customize the buttons in the manifest and the text in the manifest to make sure that that your add-in looks the way that you want it to. So there you've got a little example of you could add like a phishing button and a junk button if you wanted to differentiate that to help the users understand which is which. You can also customize the dialogue that comes up when the user clicks report. So here we have an example of a really simple reporting dialogue where we require you to provide a title text, a body text that explains to the user what they're seeing, and then some sort of function name that runs when the user clicks the report button. So this is the simple approach, but we also offer a lot of options if you want to run something a little more complex. Often users and IT admins, they really appreciate being able to give more info about why a message was reported. And so you can do that here. We've still got the required title and the required description up at the top, but we've added a lot more optional, both optional to you as the developer and also optional to the user, optional information gathering here, where the user can tell you why they reported this message. And they can also tell you, like in open text, why they think this is a bad message, which can be very helpful to either you as the ISV or to the admins at these companies. So as the user moves through this process, they'll see your reporting screen. When they click report, that kicks off an event that your event handler can listen for, and then you can do some processing on your end, whatever you need to do. And then optionally, you can display a post-processing dialog, which we've heard good feedback from IT admins that it's nice to thank the user and tell them that we appreciate them being a good corporate citizen and helping against the phishing problem. So let's talk a little bit about what options you have for internal processing. Some of the common things that we see folks do are, IT admins often want to run trainings on these kind of things, simulations. And so this is a great use of the code that you can build here so that you can help the IT admins send out kind of like mass fake phishing emails. And that gives the users a really low consequence ability to learn and to understand how they respond to phishing emails. So that's something that internally within Microsoft we do periodically. The security team will send out a phishing email, and I'm always a little bit tempted to click on it because they make it really compelling, and then I try not to. But you can run those same simulations, and during this processing stage, you can differentiate between, is this an email that you sent as part of your offering, or is this a normal email that came from outside? You can also, as you're handling the email, figure out what to do with it. Do you want to throw it away? Do you want to send it to a special folder? Or a new option that we're offering as well is that you can send this email to one of the admins at the company, or any email address of your choice. But the admins often appreciate being able to see kind of what attacks are coming in. All right, so as you finish out, you can customize this dialog, which helps you thank the user and increases the chance that they'll perform the phishing action again the next time they see one of these. All right, so before we begin the next steps, I actually wanted to show a quick demo of what this looks like. So I will share my screen. And here we have my fake admin account. We'll call him Ben because I named this account Ben. And I see the new reporting button. So this is the new native Outlook reporting button. If I click it, I don't really have a problem with this Azure AD email, but if I were to report it, I could either report it as phishing or I could report it as junk. So that gives me the options to tell my admin what I think this is. The button is very easy to find. It's right up here by all of my most important email buttons. And so for a user, this is a pretty easy experience. However, we want to talk about your experience, so let's switch over to what this looks like for you. So I'm switching to a normal user here. Her name is Lydia, and as you can see, this is in the Windows client. Lydia has this add-in instead of the standard Microsoft experience, but the add-in is still here in this really premium spot next to all of the email options. So it's very visible, it's very easy for users to find. There's a contrast to in the past where add-ins often would appear here at the end, and for a spam or phishing reporting add-in, that often wasn't sufficient for the users and what they needed to do. So once we click on this, Lydia can see a message that thanks her for reporting this. In this dialog, we've gone with the kind of really robust information gathering. So as Lydia, I'm going to say this is spam. I didn't really want this email about sunglasses. I didn't sign up for this. And so now I can click report. And when I click report, that is going to kick off some code that's going to run, and it's going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to take this email that is currently in Lydia's inbox, and it's going to move it to a special spam folder so that it's segregated away from the rest of her emails. And that's something that I've configured to happen based on the options that are available. And it's also going to email this email at base64 encoded to her admin. So I'll click report, and that'll process for a moment, and it's all done. The thing that we show Lydia here is, thank you for being a good corporate citizen and reporting that spam. We appreciate it. If I go here, we can see that I have created this spam test folder, and the email was sent here to the spam test folder. Sorry, that was the wrong email. Here's the email that was sent to the spam test folder. The other thing that happened when Lydia kicked that off is that her email was forwarded to her admin here as a base64 encoded email. So now as the admin, if this were a real phish, I could take a look at it and determine what kind of issues I might be having in my tenant that I need to watch out for. So the way that you figure all of this out and configure this is we've added some changes to the manifest. You can see here that there's a new extension point, report phishing command surface. And so here we have the ribbon button controls, where you can provide the label that you're going to provide, that your ribbon has, or that your button has. You can provide the images that you have. We also allow you to configure the pre-processing dialog, that first dialog. So you can see that you provide like the title, the description, and then you have the option to provide all of these more robust information gathering options as well. And then when the user actually clicks report, then you can set up an event handler that will listen for that. And then depending on what you want to do, can move that message, can reach out to an API that you have, can notify the admin, or gather more information about that email. All right, so I have been ignoring the chat for a little bit, so I'll return to that in a moment. Preethika, I'm sorry, but I think when I shared, I lost the deck. So do you have that at hand? I can
Yes.
pull it up if
Let
not.
me pull it up.
Okay, I just wanted to put up my slide that had the next steps because it has the documentation link that folks should follow.
Yeah.
All right, so Matthew couldn't see anything. Apologies for that, Matthew. Looks like we have some time, so I'll answer some of these questions that have come in. Louise points out that we should have an option to say this is spam. I didn't sign up for this, to avoid having to type the reason. And you can do that. So that is customizable. You could have that as an option where they could, I had some like radio buttons you could see there where you could click it. So you could actually have that option. It just depends on, what information you think is worth gathering. And if you have a couple of 80%, 90% common use cases, it's probably worth building those into the UX. Oh, Adrian, I see you already answered that. So we're lucky enough to have Adrian on this call, who's a super expert in this area. So Preethika, I'll keep answering these that come in, but it looks like we've got one open from Bart, but we've got most of the questions answered, I think.
Okay, great. Yes, I will move forward then. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so those were all our presenters for today. So we'll now be moving on to the Q&A section of this community call. So to start off with our first call, this question was, we are just starting to build our first Word add-in, a writing assistance tool, but already have requests for Outlook and PowerPoint. We saw that for Outlook, a new desktop client will be released next year, and are wondering about the roadmap and aligning APIs potentially, so that ideally for what we're trying to do, a single API would support all Office 365 applications. So the answer for this question is Office 365 provides APIs which can be application specific or common access across multiple applications. So you can find more details at this Learn Microsoft link here. And any API which is built for existing Outlook clients would be available for new Outlook as well. And there's no additional work needed. And depending on the scenario, common APIs could be a challenge. Writing assistance might mean different notions on Word than in PowerPoint. Would be interesting to learn more about this specific scenario and understand cross-application requirements. Our next question is, do we have an API to extract a PowerPoint selected slides alone? So the answer to this is you should check the insert slides from base 64 documentation, and you could leverage this to be able to accomplish this scenario. For this question, it is, we are currently developing a text enhancement add-in for Word with the objective of offering it without any online account requirements. Our aim is to ensure that the add-in operates locally, thereby eliminating any concerns from professional and administrative users about their data being uploaded to an external server. However, in order to implement the add-in, we need to store some configuration information locally. This information should be independent of the document that the user is working on. We've explored the settings and custom XML parts APIs, but unfortunately, they only save settings in the current document, which is not an optimal solution. Hence, we're inquiring about suggestions on how to store these settings. The answer to this is you should try the Runtime API 1.1. The link to this is offered here, Office Runtime Storage Interface as a Microsoft Learn link. The Runtime API is an asynchronous, global, and persistent key value storage. Another option here is that your add-in stores centrally this configuration as a part of your web app. That way, the add-in can fetch this configuration at initialization. Regarding message encryption, what is the status? Are you talking here about SMIME? Also, is this to be supported on mobile form factor? So we are planning to add multiple features to enable message encryption and decryption scenarios as a part of our initiative to close the gaps for comm scenarios this year. Among others, we already shipped smart alerts to handle on-send events, auto-launch events for recipients, and attachment changes and are also implementing a replaced body on Read, which is already available for preview. The link to that is here. We don't have timelines for mobile support yet, and we can talk about more details on this topic in a future call. Will there be any support for mail send to receive events? For send, you can use on message send to see if an email is being sent. Check out this smart alert feature. So this Microsoft Learn link will be able to give you more pointers here. And in the June community call, we talked in a lot of detail about smart alerts. So you can also check out that call. We do have the blog posted and the video on YouTube. We are not planning to add a receive event, but we are planning to add another launch event when an item is selected. Depending on your scenario, this might help you. We will provide more details about auto launch on Read soon. Will the item on send event in Outlook continue to be supported? We are considering moving to the on message send and on appointment send events, but have been put off by the fact that the dialog is not customizable. After the user clicks the send button thinking the email is complete, we display a custom dialog with the purpose of prompting the user to recheck the email again to remind them if they have forgotten anything. So for this particular question, we might deprecate item send in the future. We are recommending our community to move to smart alerts with the on message send and on appointment send events. So you should check out the June community call to see how you can get started on doing that, where we shared more details. We are adding improvements to add custom UI in the task pane. Lastly, we received quite a few questions last night and later in the day yesterday, so working on investigating the answers to these questions. So they'll be in the blog post or next month's community call just to make sure we get all of those answers as well. So that is all for our Q&A portion today. And a quick PSA announcement, if this is your first time at this community call and you're new to Office add-ins in general, we have a few quick links here. So the documentation, quick starts, script lab, samples. You can always join the Microsoft 365 developer program if that is something you are interested in, and also always take a look at Office scripts. So all of these links here could be helpful if you are newer to this space or want to learn more about different parts. And if you'd like to engage with our team for more technical questions about Office add-ins, feel free to go to this aka.ms link, which is Office add-ins dev questions, or feel free to post on Stack Overflow. We monitor both of those links. For product bugs specifically, file a ticket in the Office Dev Office.js repo, and one of our team members will go triage that. For feature requests and ideas, we have an M365 dev suggestions page, so you can always go suggest things that you'd think would be nice to have. And if you wanted to send us a quick thumbs up, thumbs down, you can always go to Inside Office and do a quick react there as well. So we do have a couple other developer community calls across M365 as well. So we have a platform call, a Power Platform and Development call, an Identity Platform call, and of course the Office add-ins call. So you can also attend any of these. If you're interested in looking at all the calls and assets that we have to offer across M365, feel free to go to this broader link down here, and I'll give you more information on all the calls that we have monthly or bi-weekly. All right, and that will be all for today. Thank you all for attending. The recording will be available in the next 72 hours on the M365 Community PNP YouTube channel. This is where we have all our YouTube channels from the previous community calls. So as I mentioned, one of the answers, we have the June community call linked here. Follow us on Twitter. And the next call is September 13th at 8 a.m. Pacific time at this link. The agenda will be posted here. And if you'd like to submit questions for the next community call, go to this aka.ms Office add-ins form link, and you can submit questions for the September community call. But that will be all for today. Thanks, everyone.